how do people interact and use these devices? So hopefully touching on some of the things that Kevin mentioned were important earlier on. And I'll talk about two projects that we've been involved with. One is the Match project, and a new one which just starts today called the Multi-Memo Home project. So, multimodal interaction. Here we're talking about using different capabilities that humans have for interacting with their devices. So normally if you're using a regular computer, it's pretty much lots of eyes and a little bit of fingers. But that's not the way we as humans interact with the world. We've got 5 different senses, got different kind of control mechanisms. So it's how do we use those different techniques to interact with the devices, for example, in our homes. So we'll just go through some of the modalities that we're interested in, and then we'll give some examples. So of course, speech, an obvious one. Speech synthesis or speech recognition. So been thinking a bit about this in home care systems. Of course, speech is very good because you deliver messages which are unambiguous and very clear. But speech is maybe not always appropriate. Perhaps sometimes it may be intrusive or disruptive. Maybe it might not be suitable. So perhaps you need a reminder for something which is slightly embarrassing. Maybe a reminder for toileting or something like that. Perhaps if there's people in your house, you don't want that through speech. Maybe you would want it in some other way. So sometimes it may be great, other times it may not be quite appropriate. Here's some speech examples. So this is some work done on the Match project with Edinburgh University, and they created some really nice voices. Let's see if this works.
Please turn the heating up.
So it's a really nice speech. On the other side, there's, of course, non-speech sounds, other things which might be used to communicate maybe when speech isn't appropriate. So we've worked a lot on these things called earcons, which are like a sonic equivalent to icons. So oftentimes these need to be learned. You might not know exactly what it means. You probably recognize this from your everyday life. You need to learn particular sounds that you might have in your home. But once you've learnt them, then the meaning may be only known to you, maybe very subtle. So here's a couple of examples of ones for turn the heating up in this case. Or turn the TV down. So trying to make things which might just sound pleasant to listen to, not too intrusive, but maybe something that only you might know the meaning of and not somebody else.
One of the projects that Steve and I have both been working on, and there's actually also a couple of suspects in the audience, Ken Turner from Stirling, Kevin Spindler from Stirling, and 2 people from University of Dundee, John Arnott and Christopher Martin. It's a fairly large Scottish-based project on mobilising advanced technologies for care at home. So it's the 4 universities, University of Dundee, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Stirling, Stirling being the lead university in the project. It's actually now at quite an exciting point in its development. In some senses, it's come to the end of the traditional academic research part, but it still has another 3 years for us and other people that are willing to join the Match consortium to develop all the research and all the research activity within the scope of Match. Some of the things that we covered in the Match project, and obviously at this point where we've just completed the 4 years of the actual research in the lab, so to speak, and it's quite hard to sort of summarise everything we've done, but the general work packages or the general themes that were covered in the Match project were stakeholder requirements, so actually getting out and working with groups of older users, groups of social care workers, even technicians that install the telecare equipment, and friends and family, people that actually have the first-hand contact with the people that are being cared for, and actually going out and doing things, like Kevin said this morning, like focus groups to actually find out what do you actually want this technology to do, perhaps not using the technology word. What do you want it to look like? What room do you think it would be in? What rooms do you not want it in? So actually contact with them throughout the project to then also include them in evaluations at the end to say, right, here's some of the solutions that we've built for you. Can you tell us something about what works and what doesn't work? How do we actually take all those zeros and ones, all those bits of sensor data, and actually make some sense of it that means something to the person themselves, and specifically to the carers? How can they take that data and say, right, well, how does that help me care for them, or how does it help me care for myself?